got the patch cord made. Now all I have to do is change the plug on the welder and check that out. Now I'm going to replace the cord cap on the welder. At least this one came with both of its screws, that's good. Now the welder didn't come with a plug on it, so I didn't have to worry about matching it, didn't have to worry about the warranty. It's just the way it is. So now I have a spare 223 phase plug and receptacle. I will probably never use because I'm not intending to ever have 3 phase. Since this welder only had 20 amp draw, it only has number 12 wire on it, which means it's going to be a little easier to get inside the plug, so I don't have to do quite as much fiddling. I still follow the same polarity. Looking at the face of the plug, white goes to the right, because that's the way I put it into the receptacle. And with 220, I really don't need to worry about that. But it's a habit I got into. When you're working with 3-phase, especially in a plant environment, quite often you have motors running a certain direction for a reason. If you switch the 2 power leads on a 3-phase, any of the 2 wires, the motor changes direction. So if you get in the habit of saying, okay, we're going to wire this plant to be a certain way. We always did black to the right. Just made it much more consistent and easier to hook up any of the connections, because you knew exactly what the phase was going to be, and the motor was going to run in the right direction as soon as you hooked it up. And that worked really well until I got to United Technologies, because United Technologies, even though it's a really fancy name for a supposedly up-and-coming high-tech company, they went around and bought up companies that were decidedly not high-tech. The aluminum extrusion plant in Coldwater had been built in the 50s. So it was built with a rather small amount of power in it. Even though it was an aluminum extrusion plant and had some pretty darn big motors in it, they put in big enough transformers to handle the stuff it was going to run. Well, then they decided to expand the plant. And rather than adding on bigger transformers and replacing the small ones, so that they only had a single service, they just added on another building. Since they had a brand new transformer over in the new building, which was overpowered actually, when they added on to the building, they just joined the two. That meant that you had two different services in the same building, which is really against the code. But back in the early 60s, wasn't much code going on. So we ended up with a building that had two sets of transformers, two completely separate services, wired differently. Any motor inside the anodized building ran clockwise, and everything else, if you plugged it into the anodized building, ran counterclockwise. Well, there was a big generator welder. And with a generator welder, you have a big electric motor that turns a generator that generates DC voltage. Very practical, works quite well. It was a big old 400 amp generator welder, did a good job, but they had it in the anodized plant. Somebody wanted to weld something over in the extrusion part of the building, so they went and got the big generator welder and plugged it in. No problem, as long as you didn't touch the shell on the welder. Generator welders are three-phase, and they have one leg grounded to the shell, which is the ground, and you wire it up that way. But if you hook up that welder to a different phase, it makes the shell hot, and it's 480 hertz. So with the personnel manager went out on the floor and walked over to see what they were doing, laid his hand on the welder, which wouldn't have given him any problem until he laid his other hand on the frame of the machine. The frame of the machine was grounded. He now became a conductor for 480. Knocked him right flat on his ass. So, long story short, that's why I phase things. Even though it's 220 and it's single phase, and I don't really have to worry about it here. I know if I'm consistent with my wiring system, I'll never have to worry about it. Well, now I know that I have the receptacle working and I have the patch cord made. I do need to bring out the plasma torch and try that. But that's going to take a little bit more work. I've got to clean up the area a bit and get the plasma welder out here. I have to clean up the area a little bit, get the plasma torch out here, set up a cutting area, bring in some stock that I can cut, and give it a shot. Might want to change my clothes too. Don't want to burn holes in my pants. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos in this channel, just drop a note in the comments below. You know I read them all.